Football analyst Stanley Jackson joins us on the live line. Stanley, I mean, are you buying all that stuff? You feel like Justin Fields and Gunner really could be that close, or do you feel like it's more the gamesmanship like Matt was saying there?
Yeah, I mean, I always believe that coaches use smoke and mirrors a lot to motivate guys to do more, to be better prepared, and to play better. Because the reality is, out of the quarterback position, you need consistency. I don't think there's a question as to who's going to be the starting quarterback. It's Justin Fields. But like Matt said, Coach Day wants to keep him on his toes and wants to keep pushing him. Now here's the big problem. The big challenge is that Coach Day in his first year as the coordinator and three-game head coach had a guy by the name of Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne skews everything. His skill set, his approach to the game, how smart he was, really skews it for all the other quarterbacks coming after him. And so what happens is coaches and people and fans, we all get caught up in a moment and remembering how great the last guy was. Well, Justin Fields is totally different. He's more like Braxton Miller, and so he doesn't necessarily fit the system that Dwayne ran. And so I'm curious to see what we roll out with him once he takes the reins. But he'll be just fine. Like Matt said, he's only been here a handful of months. It takes time to learn a new system, a new community, new teammates. I think once the kid gets out there and it's alive against a different color jersey, he'll be fine. He's going to be different. There's going to be growing pains, but you'll see some very explosive plays out of him.
Yeah, Stan, you were a quarterback. When you hear Coach Day say Justin is practicing at a high level now, midway through camp, what are the things he's looking at and wants to see progress on?
Again, it's back to consistency. So it's not just making a highlight play and then turning around and skipping two balls in the dirt and throwing a pick. Sometimes it's just taking what the defense gives. That may be throwing a simple hitch or a swing pass to the running backs. It is taking off with the ball, one available. And then when the opportunity arises because of all the weapons you have, throwing an accurate ball downfield and letting the receivers make it a perfect play. So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about a stronger grasp of the offense, the comfort level he has in the pocket, and really just taking what the defense gives. And a lot of times from a fan perspective, you think that's big, explosive plays, throwing for 70 yards or the 90-yard touchdown pass he threw in the spring game. That's not necessarily it from a coach's perspective. The most important thing from the quarterback position is don't lose the football game. And you look at our last two quarterbacks, one of the things they did better than anybody else in the country was protect the football. And I think that's something that obviously Coach Day is going to be looking at from Justin and whoever gets the opportunity to play.
Stan, you mentioned what we saw with Dwayne Haskins last year, 50 touchdown passes. What kind of offense do you think would fit Justin Fields? Should it be more of a running offense? Should it be leaning on J.K. Dobbins, a running back that's had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons? Or we have a ton of talent, Ohio State does, at wideout. Do you need to throw the ball like they did a lot last year to get those guys involved? How would you handle that mix with this new quarterback?
Matt, that's a great question. I don't think you can run the offense you ran for Dwayne Haskins. I don't think there's another quarterback in the country that you can run the offense that you did for Dwayne Haskins last year. I think you have to have a better balance this year. You definitely have to get J.K. involved because what that does is it takes the pressure off of your new quarterback, whoever it's going to be, and presumably Justin Fields. And then on top of it, what it does is incorporates a play-action pass game. So I do believe that you run more of a system similar to what Braxton Miller ran because Justin is very explosive running the football. But remember, Braxton also had really big plays throwing it downfield, and I don't think Braxton had the collection of receivers that Justin is going to have. So you got to keep those guys happy. You do have to throw the football, but you don't have to do like Dwayne Haskins did last year. I mean, Purdue is a perfect example. And he threw for almost 500 yards. We lost the football game because we couldn't run it in the red zone in particular. So I think you have to start with the ground game first, even with Justin incorporated into that ground game, and then you incorporate the passing attack and play-action pass. The good news about this quarterback race being close is that maybe you feel like you got a little more depth than you did a year ago.
Question about the defense, Stan. We saw historically unfortunate bad numbers at times last year, even though that team went 13-1. We're hearing a lot of good things with a new defensive staff, Greg Madison and Al Washington and all those guys that have come over, Jeff Hafley. What are you expecting from Ohio State defensively this year? We're hearing good things about it in camp. Are you seeing significant improvement on this Ohio State defense this year?
Yeah, I think we do, and mainly because the secondary is now experienced. Remember, we had a very young secondary last year. And when you think about big picture of Ohio State, it wasn't the fact that they were giving up a bunch of points. in this new era of football, it was the big plays that they were giving up, something we had never seen. I mean, the first 3 games alone, they had given up like 5 or 6 plays over 60 yards. So that was unprecedented, and a lot of that had to do with the secondary and poor tackling. Then came Brandon White later in the season. He really solidified the safety position. Think about Jeff Okuda. So we've got guys now that can cover and tackle in the back end. We've got just as much depth up front on the defensive line as we've always had. I think Chase is poised for a big year. And then our linebackers now, there's more depth there. We got more athleticism. And so I do think the defense will be better. I think the big question is in regards to Greg Madison and what he brings from what he learned from Don Brown. I mean, Michigan is a very aggressive, man-to-man blitz defense. They put a lot of pressure on you. They've got tough dudes off the edge. And their defense for the last 5 years, with the exception of how they play in November, has been one of the better defenses in the country. So I'm curious to see how aggressive this defense is going to be. Are we going to go back to the throwback days of the silver bullets when we had guys blitzing constantly, even from the safety position? So I am curious to see that. But in regards to talent and how guys played at the end of the season, I'm pretty confident our defense will be a lot better this year.
Super, Stan. So looking forward to the season and your analysis all season long. Stanley Jackson along with sports director Matt McCoy talking Buckeyes on News Radio 610 WTVN.